ברוכים הבאים to כולל אהבת ישראל. Welcome to כולל אהבת ישראל. Baruch Hashem, we're here today on Thursday. We're going to have a special class about continue from our series of the Rambam, Men Up. We are in chapter 7, and Be'ezat Hashem, as usual, we're going to dedicate this class to Refuah Shelema and to honor a loved one. So Be'ezat Hashem, we wanted to dedicate this class first and foremost. We have a patient, a dear friend, an Israeli woman, a mother of two, who's having a surgery as we speak. So Be'ezat Hashem, may her hatzlacha with this nituach einav bat Sarah, and Be'ezat Hashem refuah shlema to Violeta bat Dora, Binyamin ben Natan, Baruch Chai ben Chaya Miriam, Ephraim ben Devorah, Mordechai ben Esther, Rosette bat Rivka, Flori bat Rachel, Chaim ben Raymond, Elihai Shai ben Ortal, Noah bat Ortal, Yaakov ben Genia, Karen bat Aliza, Shulamit bat Tzipora, Moshe Shraga ben Chanoch, Rachel Yifrach, Rose bat Hensha Rivka, Natan Igal ben Shirinjan, a special dedication Leilun Nishmot Lehavdil for the Neshamot of Sarah Baklara, Prosper Salali ben Alice Rivka, Chanoch ben Gershon HaKohen, Yehuda Aryeh ben Sarah, to our dear friends Freddie's father, Zichrono Livracha, Shlomo Salamon Chamias, שנפטר בכ"ח בתשרי. This year, HaKadosh Baruch Hu began Eden, who placed their neshamot, Be'ezat Hashem, and we merit to have Mashiach very soon. All right, so as we are before, this is our 8th class of the Mishneh LeHarambam, Mishneh LaTorah. We have the Hilchot, Dעות. We are on chapter 7, and we're dealing of what does it mean to be a Jewish man. We call the series Men Up. In reality, we, the Jewish men, are responsible for many, many things that happen in our life, and we must always set example to everybody. So, welcome everybody. Please share the class with everybody. We really appreciate it. The goal is to reach 1,000 viewers every day, Be'ezat Hashem, and I appreciate you guys doing this with us. So we're talking now about nidui v'cherem. As chaz v'chalila, there's cases where a person, even a tzaddik, even a talmid chacham, a rabbi, that, has to be removed, so to speak. And usually it's because of something they've done, not in all cases. As we know in the history, the Rambam was a cherem was put on him. And the Ramchal was cherem. They were so ahead of their times that the Rabbanim were afraid of them. And they actually were casted off in order not to, have the Orthodox rabbi, bring them into the same umbrella. Because they were, ahead of their time. As we know, the Ramchal, for an example, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto from Padova, he was so brilliant. An angel came to him when he was 11 and taught him it was a Gilgul of Rabbi Akiva for the first 40 years. And he wrote over 200 books. Imagine, there was no really, like today when you can print a book in a day or a week or whatever. He wrote, we only have several books left, like Mesilat Yesharim and some others. But he was put on a cherem. Same with the Rambam. The Rambam, as we know, was one of the giants of giants, philosopher, a doctor, just about anything you can think of. And he was so ahead of his time that he had a cherem too. So this whole chapter is dealing with cherem and nidui. So we'll start. Chacham, zaken bechokma, a person that is smart and meaning old also has an experience. Even nasi or av bedin shesarach, even a president and the head of the Bedin that made a sin, chas v'chalila, en menadin oto befarhesia le'olam. You are not to remove him in public forever. You cannot chas v'chalila do that. They say even if Av Bedin sinned and his, so to speak, punishment is to be removed from the kehila, you cannot do this in public. It has to be done very discreet and not to insult him, meaning that it's chilul Hashem. The Rambam says, Chacham Gadol, Av Bedin, he says, Befaresia mipnei sheyesh badavar mishum chilul Hashem. There is a chilul Hashem by doing that. Because, we know many times big tzaddikim make mistakes. Chaz v'chalila said, the more tzaddik you are, the bigger yetzer hara you have. The Gemara will teach us that, and it's also mentioned in the Zohar, that when a person becomes real tzaddik, there is a lot of yetzer hara on him. And it's evidence in the Gemara. In many cases, we see even Rabbi Akiva, zichrono livracha. Rabbi Akiva used to make fun of people that had weakness to women. He says, how can they be? He says, making fun of them, making a mockery of them. And Satan came to him dressed as a beautiful woman and said that Rabbi Akiva was so captured by this woman that he was chasing her for many, far distance, until this woman, so to speak, went up to a tree. And Rabbi Akiva started climbing, and Satan revealed himself and says, look, it's only because Bat Kol speaks of you that you come out and bring Torah all over the world. I did not make you sin. But I wanted to show you how close it is, even though you are Rabbi Akiva. So we see that sometimes even the biggest tzaddikim make mistake. We know even with Navat, right? Yeravam ben Navat. When the splits of the 10 and the 2 tribes happen, when we have Rechavam and Yeravam, Yeravam was such a righteous meaning as far as genius of knowledge. They said that the Gemara tell us that he knew 124 explanation on each word of the Torah. Yeravam ben Navat. And when Rechavam, was the, so to speak, the king of Judea, and he was the king of the other 10, and they split, and we know he did chilul Hashem. And Hashem came to him and said to him, listen, there's a way you can make tshuva, and we can work together with Mashiach ben David, and you and I in Gan Eden. And Navat says to Hashem, who is walking first, me or King David, so to speak, Mashiach ben David? And Hashem says, Mashiach ben David. He says, no, I'm not coming. He did not commit tshuva. But to show you, even the biggest tzaddikim can make chaz v'chalila. So he says, if a person like this, even though he was decreed to be removed, you don't do it in public, not in Pharesia. He says that you do it like you do it in secret. He says, Aval shechata sh'ar chataot, but if you continue to do more, he says, Malkin oto betzni'ah. Even that you have to do it, even when it comes to Malkot, if the Beit Din says you have to get 40 lashes minus 1, as the Gemara says, 39 of them, you have to do it in secret. V'kashalta b'hayom v'kashal gam hanavi imach halayla. It says, Af al pi shekashal kisau halayla. It says that even when Hashem wanted to punish Yeravam, he did it at night, so people do not see. The next halacha says, V'chen gam talmid chachamim shenitchayev nidoy. Even a talmid chacham that has to be removed, it says that he is not to do it in public. It says, Asur lebeit din likfotz ulenadato. It says even the Beit Din has to jump on this opportunity, so to speak, in front of everybody. They have to be careful to remove him very discreet. They try to even give him time to make tshuva, maybe this way. It says the Rambam, v'nishmatim mimeno. You leave him, you don't even really, chaz v'chalila, trying to do it and push it, to give him a chance to make tshuva. When Noah was building the ark, it took 120 years. Question is asked, why it takes 120 years to build an ark? It says Hashem wanted to give a chance to the people of the world to make tshuva. But of course they never did until the water was coming. And of course we know that they said that on that day, that's it. everything was destroyed. It was 40 days of rain, boiling water, so to speak. The earth opened up. That's when the earth, broke into 7 pieces. Originally, until the flood of Noah, the world was one unit. Only after the water from below, speaking of the core of the earth, and the magma and the lava broke out, and the water from above came down from, not the rain like we know today. As we know, there's millions and millions and millions of galaxies that are made out of ice and water above our earth, and when they two collide, the world broke into 7 pieces. Amudei Shiva, the Zohar says. So he says, even at this, you have to basically try to give them the opportunity to do tshuva. אלא, he says, שלא נמנו מעולם לנדות תלמידי חכמים, אף על פי שנמנים להלקותם, אם נתחייב מלקות, ואפילו מכת מרידות נמנים עליה להלקותו. So even when the people have to be, חס וחלילה, get the malkot, be punished with lashes, it's come from the anisha min Torah. It says by that is takanat chachamim. This is how you fix the takana. And you fix them, continue. It says, וכיצד הוא הנידוי? How do you really do this removal, so to speak? אומרים, פלוני בשמתה. ואם נידו בפניו, אומרים פלוני זה. It says, והחרם אומרים פלוני מחרם. It says that even when you come to do it, you don't really call in their name, so to speak. You says, פלוני bishmata. With your, we mention him just to him and not to everybody. And it says, ploni ze. When you're facing him, you say, ploni ze. You don't even say their name. And it says, Omrim ploni mecherem, if you have to be removed and to be casted off. And it says, ve'arur bo Allah bo shvu'a bo nidui. So it says, what's going on here? It says that bo Allah, it's actually, כלומר שניתן לו גם ארור, משמעות לשון זה שקללה. And this is חס וחלילה, it brings curse upon him. גם שבועה כגון ארור להשם. As we know many times, it says that the person does an avera is arur, is cursed. It's the opposite of Ya'er. When Ya'er is Hashem bless, it lights up his lights upon you. But when you arur, chaz v'chalila, you are cursed. That's why the land, was cursed. One of the 10, as we know, when Adam Chava, the snake, made their sins, they got 39 curses. Adam got 10, Chava got 10, the snake got 10, and the earth got 9. And hence, when Hashem says, Arura Adama, even the land is cursed, that meaning that now, Bezat apecha tochal lachem, that Adam had to work, mankind had to now, clear the, before everything came ready, every tree has fruit, you didn't have to do, everything was provided. But when Hashem cursed, Arura Adama, that moment the land became desolate. You had to work it, you had to prepare it, you had to plot, you had to, plan, you have to clean, you have to do everything in the hard work, very, very hard work. And it says that's why, by the way, we do on all the animals, we have to have what we call the tahara and the shchita. That's because they're on the Adama, they're arurim. But that's why we don't do shchita on fish, because the water was not cursed. And that's why we don't do shchita on any dog. So it says, Keitzad metirim anidu en acherem. There is a way to remove this nidu and cherem. Of course, we know we have what we call hatarat nedarim that we do in before Rosh Hashanah. And of course, we have, the Sephardim have 40 days of slichot. The Ashkenaz, I think they do 5 days before Rosh Hashanah, and then 10 days until Yom Kippur. And it says, the nidu is you can do it, which says sharui, only when it's allowed, meaning, the Rambam says, אומרים לו שרוי לך ומחול לך, ואם התירו שלא בפניו, אומרים פלוי שרוי לו ומחול לו. The idea is to always have the person in front of you when you do the removal of this neder and this nidui, this is removal or the cherem, they've been casting off, you have to do it in front of them. So sharui lecha, meaning now you have the reshut, you have the privilege to be back, But if sometimes the person is not in front of you, if they're already left and they're far, but the Beit Din decided that it's been enough and they need to come back, they say sharui lo machulo leploni. They said to this so and so, sharui lo machulo, is forgiven and is allowed to come back. The next halacha says ma'u minhag sheyenhog hamenudeh ba'atzmo shenohagim imo. It says where is the obligation of the person that's been casted off? It says this person menudeh asur lesaper or lechabes ke'avel kol yemei neduyav. This person that's been removed is not allowed to have a haircut, not allowed to wash his clothes until the end of his so-called nidui, until the end of the period of time that he was removed. Ve'en mezamnim alav. He cannot even use to be part of a zimun of a 10 when you do a minyan. לכל דבר שצריך 10 ולא יושבים עמו ב4 אמות. He cannot even be part of a minyan. He cannot even sit with them 4 amah. This is amah, by the way. Amah is about half a meter. Just so you know, Moshe Rabbeinu was 10 amot. He was 5 meters tall. It's a giant, among men, so to speak. And that's why also Aharon, his brother, was tall. When we speak of in Parashat Baalotcha, in America we have Parashat Baalotcha this week, and in Israel we have Parashat Korach. It said that the Tenufa, that Aharon lifted 22,000 Leviim in one day. He was very strong, and we know that Moshe Rabbeinu, he removed the stone that took 12 people to move when he saw, when he saw Tzipporah, coming to the well. He was so strong. And it says here that even sitting 4 amot from this person is not allowed. אבל שוnehu לאחרים ושונה לו, ונזכר וסוחר, ואימת בנידוי, בית דין שולחים מניחים עליו אבן על ארונו. So it says if a person, chaz v'chalila, died when he was in the period of casting off, the Beit Din sholchinu menichin even. They take a stone, and put on his grave, so to speak, on his casket. It says, klomar shehen rogmin oto. It's like chaz v'chalila, a person was stoned. When a person dies on the time of nidu, it's from Shamayim, and it's one of the Sanhedrin, mitat Beit Din, of skila, of stoning. And we see that it was used in this parasha when it comes to mekoshesh etzim. The Torah says that there was an old man that was gathering wood. That it didn't mention his name. And in our Daf Yomi today, on Masechet Shabbat, it says that, they named him Tzlofchad. And there was a big machloket. Why did they name him? It's actually an Avera. Hashem did not want to name him yet. Only when the daughter came later on to ask for the inheritance and the share of Israel, they're mentioning his name. But here in the parasha, it doesn't say mekoshesh, zaken mekoshesh etzim. Is an old man that was gathering wood. He did it l'shem shamayim. The Zohar HaKadosh says that Tzlofchad, now after the chet of the Meraglim, and the people of Israel were punished for 40 years, and they said they had no cheshek la'asot mitzvot, emayu b'midbar. They felt like that's it. There's not coming out of the desert. They kind of almost, start living Hashem, so to speak. And he did that, Tzlofchad, in order to show them how important the Shabbat. He sacrificed his own self, the Zohar says. So we see here that it's really amazing that a Torah, even when he made a Kiddush Hashem, they don't give him the name. They say only later to show how great he was that Hashem changed, what Moshe Rabbeinu did not understood how to do inheritance for women. But it says if a person like this, that was menudeh, they use a skila. They put a stone on his so-called grave, just like it was in Parashat Shelach Lecha, where we see the old man was stoned. So, by the way, the word even, as we mentioned before, in case people that join us knew, the word even, that's why we put a stone on the grave. Even is actually an acronym of the Chut HaMeshulash that comes between the Even is Aleph, Abba, Bet, Ben, Nun, Neched, a father, a son, and a grandson. If the 3 of them learn Torah together, the Torah will never leave the family. And of course for the mothers as well. Ve'al titosh Torat imecha. Even is Ima, Bat, Nechda. mother, daughter, granddaughter. The women, obligated, Miriam, as we know, she was the Rabbanit of the people of Israel. And when she spoke to the people of Israel, she saw that Zipporah was sad. And she was sad. She said to her brother Aaron, why Moshe left her? We are also prophets. I didn't leave my husband. He did not leave your wife. But even by that, it was considered Lashon Hara. So it says, they put the stone on this person that was removed, because he was outside of the tzibur. And of course, we mentioned before, the word tzibur is all of us. It's an acronym, tzaddik, benoni, verasha. We are all in the tzibur. We have all kinds. We have righteous, we have middle of the roads, and we have wicked. But Be'ezat Hashem, may all of us will merit to be tzaddikim, or even benonim, just to be middle of the road, Be'ezat Hashem. It says, ve'en maspidin oto, ve'en melavin mitato. It says a person that was removed, because sarach, meaning that he did such a chet, a very big avera, and he was removed and casted off from the community, and if he dies there, this is from Shamayim, and you not even do a eulogy about him, and you don't even melavin et mitato. He's buried almost like a person that killed himself. People that kill themselves is a big avera. You're not allowed to chaz v'chalila. Katuv lo tirtzach, right? You're not allowed to murder somebody, even yourself. And those people that get buried outside of the, cemetery, the special place for them, he said that, there's no chaz v'chalila melavin et mitato. A person, that does chaz v'chalila, that has to be removed, casted off, and have to put in cherem, and he dies. Lo ve'en melavin et mitato. You don't even escort his funeral, so to speak. They just bury him quietly. And yeter alav hamecharem. So it says, we're dealing here, what's going on here? It says, she'eno shone le'acherim. Ve'en shonin lo, aval shonehu le'atzmo. It says, kedei shelo yishkach talmudo. You have a person that, is doing everything that has to do with the cherem. He's not allowed to teach others, and he's not allowed to teach him. Aval shonehu be'atzmo. A person that's been outside, casted off, you cannot have somebody teach him. You cannot even learn with him. He has to only teach himself. Why? Shelo yishkach talmudo. So he's not forgetful of his, talmudo. It means both Torah, limud, and the Gemara, right? Talmud, It says when HaKadosh Baruch Hu came back from Paran, when he asked the other nation if they want the Torah, and they said no, it says Esh Dat Lamo, right? It says Hashem came with the Talmud. Dat Lamo is Talmud. He says, I'm giving you both the oral and the written Torah together. It's the only way to study Torah. Bam. V'dibarta bam. Bam is the acronym of the both Torah. The first word of the written Torah is Bet, Bereshit. And Mem is the Gemara, Mem Matayin, Masechet Brachot. So it says, Ve'eno niskar ve'niskerin lo. It says you can't even rent him anything. You cannot rent anything from him. You cannot even do any business. En nosim imo masau matan. You cannot even have any negotiation of business. Ve'en mitaskin imo ella me'at hesek kedei parnasato. The only thing you're allowed to do as far as a person that's being casted off is give him a low parnasa, only to survive, so to speak. Well, that's why it's very important not to have chaz v'chalila a machloket, especially, when you have big Rav that everybody listen, all of a sudden you hear this Rav went to jail for this and that. It's a big chilul Hashem. He said that when you do that, it's defaming the Hashem and the people of Israel. That's why it's very important for all of us, both as Jewish men, women, it doesn't matter what it is, Rav, if you are, whatever you are, you representing Hashem. When you go out there as a Jewish man, remember, you don't represent yourself only, you're representing a nation. When you go out there, he says, I'm Jewish, when you have a kippah on, and you walk in the streets, people see that you are Jewish, you're representing God, you have no fear, you all said, I have the kippah, Hashem is above me, I know. That means you're representing Hashem. And when you act in any matter that's chaz v'chalila, not appropriate, is chilul Hashem at the highest level. When you go out there every day, whatever you are, if it's work, if it's going to, whatever the case may be, to the market, or if you just walk in with your family, or even if you speak online, you're representing Hashem and the land of Israel and the people of Israel and the Jewish people all over the world. So we are obligated to always guard this and always protect. That's when it said, man up, meaning that, always raise yourself so people will see that, the Jewish people are above all. Because Hashem says, you will be above all the nation. Bechorim atem. You are my Bechor. You are the firstborn, so to speak. He said that a person, Chaz v'Chalila, that's been casted off, you're not allowed to do anything with them. The only thing you allow is to really do a little parnasah, so they don't, Chaz v'Chalila, lose their parnasah. They need something just to sustain themselves. Continue the Rambam, it says, מי שישב בנידוי 30 יום ולא ביקש להתירו, מנדין אותו שנית. So a person that's been out there for 30 days and did not ask to be, brought back to society, so to speak, you have to do another 30 days. ישב 30 יום אחרים ולא ביקש להתירו, מחרימים אותו. And now, if he has there 60 days, still did not ask for, heter, leatir, has come to, give him the right to come back, then it's a cherem. Chaz v'Chalila. It's very, very important. The whole idea of being casted off or being removed is to really have a cheshbon nefesh, in order for you to really understand what you've done and how we can fix it. And then you ask for heter, after you have to do it within the 30 days. If you don't, they have to put you again for 30 days. And if you don't again, chaz v'Chalila, you have been cherem. It's very, very important. Cast it off. And that could be sometimes years. Bechama metirin hanidui o cherem. So how many people you have to use? So it says, bishlosha, minimum, afilu hediotot. What's hediotot? Hediotot is a person that is not chacham, but they understand what's happened here. Of course, they all have to be Shomrei Shabbat. They all have to be Bnei Torah. You cannot have somebody that's Chaz v'Chalila doesn't keep Shabbat, do heter. It's very important to understand that. So you have to have 3 of them. And it says, v'yachid mumche metira nidui levado. It says, if you have, one, let's say a tzaddik, a Talmid Chacham in the town that, there's only one, but he's the only one, even he can do that alone. It says, v'yesh letalmid latir hanidui acherem afilu bimkom rav. If let's say if there is a place when there is no rav, we have some communities around the world that doesn't have a rabbi. Right? They have a Talmid Chacham that, learn and teach and whatever the case may be. He's allowed to do the removal of this nidui and do the heter if there is no rabbi in the place. By the way, just to mention, when the Gemara speaks, there is 2 kinds. There's Rav and Rabbi, right? We know that what's the difference between Rav and Rabbi? Rav is a person that doesn't live in Israel. Right? Rabbi is Rosh Bnei Israel. Rav is Rav Bavel. Usually the Rabbanim outside of the land of Israel. Just the difference between the 2. Continue. שלושה שנידו והלכו להן, וחזר זה מדבר שנידו בגללו, באים 3 אחרים מתירים לו. So if let's say there is 3 Talmid Chachamim or 3 hediotot, Shomrei Shabbat, that did an heter, that they actually did the whole ceremony of removing this nidui, and this person did it again, and it has to be again in another 30 days, you have to use 3 different people, not the same 3 people, to do the heter. מי שלא ידע מי נידהו, ילך אצל הנשיא ויתיר לו נידויו. If a person doesn't know who did this, sometimes people do and they do it, they're so distraught, they don't even know who did this for them, who gave them the heter, and they're not sure who they can come back and do it, so they go to the nasi. And if there is the time, there is a nasi, then they can go there and yatir lo niduyav. A nasi is usually the head of the Sanhedrin, as we know. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was the head of the Sanhedrin, for an example. And it says, shehu samchut ha'alyona ben hachachamim. He is really the authority above all to do the nidui singly by one person. Nidui al tnai, afilu mipi atzmo, tzarich hafara. Even if you do a conditional, when you do, I'm going to do a nidui on a condition. He says, for an example, he says, אני מנדה את עצמי אם מחר יורד הגשם. If you say, I'm going to remove myself for 30 days, you know, like a Nazir, for an example, if it's going to rain tomorrow, right? But it didn't rain and you need הפרה, you have to have תלמידי חכמים שנידע עצמו, ואפילו נידע עצמו על דעת פלוני, אפילו על כל דבר שחייב עליו נידוי, הרי זה מפר לעצמו. You can do that because you put the condition on it, and if the condition did not happen, it's not really considered a nidui, but you still need hafara. Tzarich hafara, the Ramam says, al yachid mumche o shlosha ediotot. In that case, you still need to have 3 people, or yachid mumche, known as the nasi. So he says, ma'u sheniduhu b'chalom. אפילו ידע מנידו, צריך 10 בני אדם ששונים האחרות להתירו מנידוייו. So it says, you know, sometimes we have dreams, chaz v'chalila, very bad dreams. Just when it comes to dreams, it's very important to understand there is 3 kinds of time frames for the dreams and what they mean. You know, as we know, shlosha shmorot laila, the night has 3 parts. They have ashmoret rishona, ashmoret shniya, and ashmoret shlishit, the first and second and third part of the night. They say usually the dreams that really happen to be dreamt on only in the last Ashmora, only in the 3rd portion of the night. Those are usually the dreams that they come to show a little bit of a prophecy, so to speak, or something of things to come to you. So chaz v'chalila, if you have a dream like this that was removed by dream, you know, even if you know who did it in your dream, because many times you have no idea, right? You say, I had a bad dream, I was removed, and so on and so forth. You need 10 people, a minyan, to do hatara. As this is nidu, you know, is atarat chalomot, so we speak. Ve'im lo matza, toreach alehen ad parsa. You have to go even, parsa is 400 mil, you know, and it's a very long distance. Imagine, mil, by the way, is what we call a kilometer, right? Mile in English comes from the word mil. You have to even look for 400 kilometers to find 10 people that metirin lo asara sheshonim Mishnah. There have to be people that knows the Mishnah. That was Talmidei Chachamim. Say, lo matzah metirin lo mishu yodeh likro b'Torah. If you cannot find those 10 people that, you know, read the Mishnah, that actually Talmidei Chachamim, so to speak, that have the entire Gemara in their, so to speak, in their teachings, if they don't, he couldn't find them, he has to find 10 people that know how to read the Torah. You know, to read the Torah is not easy, as we know. The Torah does not have vowels. That's why the Baal Koreh practice a lot. He has to remember every vowel, everything. You know, the reason the Torah is not written with vowels is to really allow us to understand that each word could be changed. Each word could have 70 explanations, so to speak. Shevim panim la Torah. If you take each word and you put a vowel on it or a letter, you define the word by one explanation. When you don't have vowels, you have many options. For an example, when it says, Bereshit bara Elohim et, right? When God created et. What's et? So many of our sages will say et is aleph through taf. First, the words and letters were created before the world, right? We know the Torah existed. According to Masechet Shabbat, Ayin Chet Bet, Masechet Shabbat Tracket 88.2, it says that the Torah existed 974 generations before the creation of the world. So Bereshit bara Elohim et, all the Hebrew letters to write the Torah. But also, if you look the word et, rearrange the letters, ta, Bereshit bara Elohim, a cell, the ta. Ta is very interesting in English. Every ta, every cell is what we call the DNA, right? DNA, if you write in Hebrew, is Adonai, right? Every DNA in the world, every DNA in the world, right? Every cell in the world, you can create a whole person from. The entire genetic code to create a person, a full person with everything, is in that cell. What's the DNA? What is this DNA? Why they call it DNA? It's not coincidence. Everything's from Hashem. DNA, right, in Hebrew is Adonai, right? The DNA, the 2 heliuses, like Sulamot Yaakov, there's 2 of those, so to speak, the spinning heliuses that connected. There is a sequencing of bridges that connect these 2 heliuses, and all DNA in the world has the sequencing and distance of Yud K Vav K, of the letters of Hashem. Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. every 10, every 5, every 6, every 5. Every DNA in the world is the sequencing of God. Really, this is the signature of God in creation. There is a very famous professor from Argentina, a Jewish one, that discovered this. He was not religious. When he discovered this, he made Aliyah, became a rabbi. He's in Machon Weizmann in Israel today. There's a lot of studies about that. And he noticed that any sick person, usually they look at the DNA and see which are the broken parts, which are the not connected within the DNA, and they know how to really kind of have a tikkun for this person, so to speak. But so it says that a person that cannot find 10 people that read Mishnah has to find 10 people that read the Torah, and they can metirin lo. And it says, ve'im lo matzah. If you cannot find even those 10 people, afilo asara she'enan yodim likrot. You have to find, again, it's all people that keep the Shabbat, people that have Yirat Shamayim. The reason you go from the highest to the lowest, it's all to show you how important it is not to be chaz v'chalila menudeh. And if the worst case scenario, you cannot even find 10 people, you can. The last option is with 3 people. So, continue, it says, what is, the chalom, the dream? The Rambam says, אף על פי שמקור החלומות בהרהורי אדם, עצמו במשך היום, וכבר פסק הרמב"ם, דברי חלומות לא מעלים ולא מורידים. He says that חס וחלילה, a person when he dreams, it always stays with him. And הרי החלום הוא בגדר הערה לאדם. When a dream comes in the third portion of the night, it's really Hashem is really making an effort for you to be careful, to show you. It says, be careful. What you dream about is really important. It's a ara la'adam. The Rambam says, it says, begeder ara la'adam le'ativ et darkav, that you have to fix your ways. And it says, ve'yesh le'atiro afilu im nida adam et atzmo. You have to have an eter, even though, because it says, I had such a bad dream, I want to remove myself and, to basically remove myself from the mundane world and focus on Torah and tshuva and everything. Tzech latir et niduyav after 30 days. So as we know, by the way, when you dream, there's all kinds of dream. Of course, some say the longest dream is about 1 minute and 20 seconds. And average dream, they say, is about 13 seconds. But of course, the neshama has no limit on time, space, distance, anything like that. Neshama can go up to the heavens of heavens, galaxies, and distance, record everything that needs to do in front of Hashem, and come back. Many times, as Rabbi Mizrahi once said, is a beautiful story. He says one person fell asleep, and he woke up sweaty and beyond upset, and he tells his wife, they just, I had such a horrible dream. They took me from here and they took me to a country, in an Arab country, tortured me for 6 months, and then they took me to another country, and I was, waterboarded, and I went all this, it took like 1.5 years. It was such an unbelievable. He woke up, the wife says to him, what are you talking about? He just fell asleep less than a minute ago. How do you have a dream of 2 years on a period of less than a minute? It shows you the power of the neshama. As we said, the neshama doesn't really want to be in our body. The neshama is not here for the mundane. The neshama came for a tikkun so she can go back to the maker, so to speak. Neshama is Hashem Natan, right? It's part of Hashem. So we see here that even a person that has a bad dream has to nidui and has to have heter. Because the only way to fix that is to have a heter. When you really have a dream, they say, for an example, there's all kind of dreams. There is a big teaching by the Arizal about dreams and many other great rabbis. But just so you know, there's certain things if you dream of, it's not bad, even though you think about it. If you dream of a snake, it means that your money is coming to you. And chaz v'chalila, if you dream that you lost your shoe, it's not good. That means chaz v'chalila, somebody will die. There's all kinds of, things. You can search it if you want. I can be happy to point it out. But when it comes to dream, especially the last portion of the night, it says, the Rambam, E'ara, Kadosh Baruch Hu is making you notice something. He's telling you need to be fixed. You need to do something. So it says, by the way, as we mentioned before, parsa is alpaim amma, which is a kilometer. As we mentioned, you have to go 400 kilometers to find this 10 to do an hatara. So now the Rambam is speaking. It says that מי שנדוי בפניו אין מתירין לו אלא בפניו. They said that usually you have to do it when a person is facing you in order to do the hatara. But in some cases, as we mentioned before, the person is not in front of you and you need to, they do it ploni, as we mentioned, שלא בפניו. ואין בהן נידוי להפרה כלום, אלא מן הדין מתירים ברגע אחד. This says that when the moment you do the hatara for the nidui, it happens that moment. There's no other period of time this person has to what? שיחזור המנודה למוטב, in order for him to come back to the right path. ואם ראו בית דין להניח זה בנידוי כמה שנים, מניחים כפי ראשון. חס וחלילה, if a person has to be even removed for years, it's according to his rish'o, meaning according to his actions and deeds. וכן, now there is a portion of the people המזלזלים בנידוי. It says a person, חס וחלילה, is making mockery of this process, so to speak. וכן אם ראו בית דין להחרים לזה לכתחילה, ולהחרים מי שאוכל עמו ושותה עמו, או מי שעומד עמו, בארבע אמות מחרימין כדי לאסרו, וכדי לעשות סייג לתורה, כדי שלא יפצירו החטאים. Says when a person that, needs to be removed, and it doesn't really, so to speak, making a mockery of this, the Rambam says, he says that you have to, all the elements that we mentioned before, you cannot eat with him, you cannot drink with him, you cannot stand with him within, distance within the 4 amot, and you have to remove him, and you have to, kedele yasro, you have to make him feel bad in order for him to fix himself, and by doing that, you put siyag la Torah, you put a fence to the Torah, and in order for him to really kind of realize what it is. And when it comes to nidui lichvod chacham, when a person chaz v'chalila, as we mentioned before, if a talmid chacham has to be removed, you do it quietly, not בפרהסיה. אף על פי שיש רשות לחכם לנדות לכבודו, אינו שבח לתלמיד חכמים להנהיג עצמו בדבר זה. It says that when a talmid chacham, sometimes a talmid says, I want to be removed for myself, I need to be this, I need to do that. He said it's not really shevach, it's not a good thing for them to do. And it's not good להנהיג עצמו בדבר. It's not good for them to get used to things like that. אלא מעלים אוזנם מדברי עמי הארץ ולא ישית ליבו להן. יעשה חס וחלילה, he's not paying attention, because when a person get to this level that says I need to remove myself, especially as a Talmid Chacham, is something that needs to be kind of hinted to him, It says it's like מדברי עמי הארץ. Usually people that don't know and don't understand what is they do things like that. העניין שאמר שלמה בחוכמתו, גם לכל הדברים אשר ידברו, אל תיתן לבך. It says in the book of Kohelet, King Solomon says that even when you hear other things, don't let everything into your heart. As we know, very important, the heart, as we mentioned, the Rambam always said, the heart is only a 4-bedroom hotel. Don't bring everything in. Spread everything around your body. You have 613 parts. וכן, היה דרך חסידים הראשונים. It says, it was through, in the beginning of the Hasidim Arishonim, Shomim Cherpatan ve'enan meshivim. They used to be Chaz v'Chalila insulted, but never ever talk back. They're like, okay. As we know, David HaMelech, even, when somebody spoke ill of him, they wanted to kill him, because, you're the king and you're allowed. This is, a sin against Malchut. And he said, no. If the person cursed or said something bad, it was get permission from up there, from Hashem. And he said, we'll see what happened to him, but not from me, because, that means Hashem sent him to teach me something. It's very interesting. David HaMelech. He says, Lo meshivin, when you hear bad thing, when a person insults you, you don't talk back. ולא עוד, אלא שמוכלין למחרף וסולחין לו. He says that you even have to forgive the person that said bad things to you. What a level, huh? Today we know a person just says something, remotely, not even, insulting. People get so offended, and they start holding and they don't talk in a grudge in years. And they say you're not even allowed to, chaz v'chalila, even think that you be mad at them. It says you have to forgive them. וחכמים גדולים היו משתבחין במעשיהן הנאין, ואומרים שמעולם לא נודעו אדם ולא החרימו לכבודן. Our sages said they never, even when they were insulted, they never remove a person. Even though they could, technically, when a person, insult, let's say, Talmid Chacham, Sanhedrin, or anything in that times, they have the right to remove, but they never did. And actually, they understood what Hashem was teaching them and what the Rambam was saying. ואומרים שמעולם לא נידו אדם, and they never did that. Never casted them away. וזיהי דרכן של תלמידי חכמים שראוי ללך בה. And this is the way a Talmid Chacham should walk in. We know the Zohar Kadosh brings something amazing. So when a person is being insulted and they don't talk back, they just, accept it, and in their heart they say, Hashem, thank you, I understand, please take care of it, I'm not going to do anything. There is a segula, Rabbi Shlomo Amar says, and the Gaon Chida, he says, go to that person that was just insulted and never spoke back and ask them for a blessing. Anything that you want, go that moment to this person that was insulted and never spoke back and ask for blessing. He said, this person has the segula that Hashem will make your blessing come true. It's amazing. It's a very powerful thing to say. Because when a person accepts that, Chaz v'chaz somebody insulted, he understands that, it's done from Shamayim. He says, nobody will remove a finger unless Hashem tell them to do it. במה דברים אמורים? The Rambam continues, says, כשביזוהו או חרפוהו בסתר, אבל תלמיד חכם שרפו בהם אדם בפרהסיה, אסור. He says, what does it mean here? He says, if somebody spoke ill about you, behind your back, so to speak, בסתר, אבל תלמיד חכמים שביזוהו או חרפו אדם בפרהסיה, Asur limchol al kevodo. But when it comes to, let's say, a Talmid Chacham is insulted, in Farhesia, so to speak, this person, Asur limchol lo al kevodo. What does it mean? So the Ramchal says, when a person does bizayon le Talmid Chacham, is like bizayon la Torah. It's right, really, chaz v'chalila, is insulting the Torah. Because what a Talmid Chacham. And I'm talking about real Talmid Chacham and real rabbis and not, in Hebrew we have a joke. It says, a hat is 5 shekel and a beard is free. Not just because you look like one, you are one, right? Meaning that when it's real Talmid Chacham, the Kadosh Baruch Hu says he does what I need him or her to do. Because, the whole purpose of life is to emulate God, to be close to Hashem, and to teach the Torah, and to show really what God is all about. So when a person insults a Talmid Chacham, it's like insulting Hashem. And he says, Chaz v'chalila, if you forgive, which is, opposite of what we learned before, because when it comes to real Talmid Chacham, if you say, you know what, I forgive this person, is Chaz v'chalila, is asur. You're not allowed limchol al kevodo, because you mochel al kavod HaTorah. Ve'im machal ne'enash, shezehu bizyon Torah. He says, Chaz v'chalila, Chaz v'chalila. He says that when you forgive a person that made mockery of a Talmid Chacham, as if like you made okay to mock Hashem, and no more this is not forgiven. It's bizyon Torah, is the opposite of chaz v'chalila kibud the Torah. This is the bizayon Torah, is the really defaming of the Torah. Ela nokem v'noter harbe kan nachash ad shivakesh miyonu mechila v'yislach lo. So as we know, it says noter harbe kan nachash. Why the Torah uses that? Why the Rambam says that is like a bite of a snake? Because, a snake was cursed that nothing that he will taste have any taste. Snake doesn't taste, has no taste, so to speak. He can eat dirt, can eat rats, he can eat whatever he eats, all has no taste. And he says, like hamakish ve'en lo hana'a mina kasha, even though that a snake bites, there's no pleasure in it, כן ראוי שיהיה כעס תלמיד החכמים על כבוד התורה ועל כבודו. Why? Because when person insult the Talmid Chacham, is like insulting the Torah. The only time you're allowed to stand up is when somebody insults the Torah. You cannot be quiet. This is that's what it says, "B'makom she'en ish hayeh ish." When there's no man, man up. Right? If you hear somebody doing chaz v'chalila bizayon Torah, you gotta stand. And so no. That's why, by the way, the Parashat HaMeraglim, everybody was punished collectively because they never stood up and said no. How can you let 10 people influence a whole nation that experienced all the miracles that nobody sees, not even Yechezkel ben Buzi? They just received the 10 Commandments, they had the Mishkan, Hashem with them, they saw the clouds of glory, they saw all this, they were promised the land there, Zavat Chalav Udvash, they all became quiet. They cried instead of standing up for Hashem. It was Bizui and Chilul Hashem and the Torah. That's why they were all punished. He says, even though She'arei asur lo linkom v'litor al inyan ishi, he says, we're not allowed to hold grudge, right? Lo tikom ve'lo titor. That's come personal. But when it comes to the kavod Torah, you're allowed to do that. You are actually, it says ve'echa ashid bencha uven ha'isha uven zaracha uven zar'a. So he says you have to ask mechila from the person that you insulted because he insulted the Torah. Shivakesh mimeno mechila ve'islach lo. It says you have to come back and ask again and again. It says, by the way, halachically, if you had sin or insult somebody, not a Talmid Chacham, you have to ask for them for forgiveness 3 times minimum. After 3 times, if they don't forgive you, and you really came with charata, you came with a really purpose of asking for true forgiveness, and you ask them up to 3 times. But when it comes to Talmid Chacham and Rabbi, you have to do it all the time, no matter how many times. You have to ask for forgiveness. With a regular person, after 3 times you are forgiven. But when it comes to Talmid Chacham, a real Talmid Chacham or a real Rabbi, you have to really make sure that they forgive you. Because, it says, when it comes to Kiddush Hashem and the Torah, the lo tikom ve'lo titor doesn't hold, so to speak. He says, even though, right, if you come to a person and you ask him for forgiveness and they don't forgive you, ולא יהיה מוכל אכזרי, right? משום שאסור לאדם להיות אכזרי ולא יתפייס, אלא יהיה נוח לרצות וקשה לכעוס, ושעה שמבקש ממנו החוטא למחול, מוכל בלב שלם ונפש חפצה. והוא דרכם של זרע ישראל ולבם הנכון. So he says, when it comes to a person, when חס וחלילה you insulted a person, and a person is not allowed לא תיקום ולא תיטור, you're not allowed to חס וחלילה take a revenge or to hold grudge. You have to forgive this person, because if you don't, you consider אכזר. חס וחלילה, you are very, very a rude person. And we know that the people of Israel הם רחמנים, right? When David HaMelech says, אשרי הגבר, what's גבר? גבר is not really, what's happened to the giver, what happened to the ladies. It's not about male and female. גבר is an acronym of all Jews. It is what we call גומלי חסדים, ביישנים ורחמנים. The people of Israel, known as the do mitzvot, they have gomle chasadim, they do, tikkun olam, they help all the other nations, and they are what we call bet baishanim. They should be, and this is really when a person is not baishan, you can tell he has no yirat shamayim. You have to be modest, you have to be humble, you have to be nechba el hakelim. As we know, Shaul was nechba el hakelim. The person that the Torah mentioned that he was so humble and modest was Shaul. Of course, Moshe Rabbeinu was this, but when it comes to Shmuel looking for Shaul, he was so humble. It says, Nechba el hakelim. He was hiding behind, so to speak, the sheds, the tools of the house. He was really so humble that even though, they say you're going to be the king, he never wanted to insult his father. When he was looking for the atonot, when he was looking for the mules, and Shmuel HaNavi made him a king, he never went to his father not to insult him. And when they looked for him again, when it was time to, so to speak, make him the king, he was nechba el hakelim. Even if at that moment he was hiding, he was baishan. And of course, as we mentioned, Resh is Rahmanim, he is a person that has mercy. And of course, we know Shaul, because of his mercy on Amalek, Chaz v'Chalila, he was punished because, he was supposed to kill the Amalekites. So he says, אשרי הגבר is גומלי חסדים, ביישנים, רחמנים. We're going to finish this class. We finished, Baruch Hashem, everything that has to do with this whole chapter of Hilchot, Dעות. So we did 8 classes, and there is 7 chapters in it altogether. And as we say in the finish of the teaching of the Rambam, Baruch Rachmana Desayaan, Baruch Hashem she'azar lanu lilmod. And Be'ezat Hashem, this class will be posted on our website, neshatorah.org. We thank all of you. We're going to continue with the Rambam. Be'ezat Hashem, next week we'll have another subject. We're going to look, there are so many beautiful things we can learn from the Rambam. I urge you to get this book. And again, we want to thank Rabbi Yochai Magbili. This is the book he donated to the Kollel. It's the newest edition of the Mishneh Torah LaRambam. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So, Be'ezat Hashem, please share this class with everybody. I'm Rabbi Yoram Dahan here in La Jolla, Kollel Ahavat Israel in San Diego. And please look on our website. There's a lot of great programs. There's a lot of great articles, lessons. We have Taktsir Parashat HaShavua. We have all the 54 parashot there for every Shabbat in Hebrew and English. We have recorded class of the Kollel. And if you like to support the Kollel, we'll be happy and grateful. Everything, we have a campaign. We're trying to build the only Kollel in San Diego. And Be'ezat Hashem, you can donate online. And Be'ezat Hashem, we want to thank each and every one of you who's always been with us, and we'll continue Be'ezat Hashem next week. Have a wonderful Shabbat. As we mentioned, this is Shabbat Be'alotcha here in the U.S. and in Parashat Korach in Israel. And Be'ezat Hashem, let's focus on Be'alotcha. Man up, elevate yourself, and remember, when you out there, you're representing Hashem, you're representing the nation of Israel, representing the Torah, your family, everything that has to do with Judaism and goodness. So God bless you. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for watching.